cars, start your engines!
Yellow's out. Dan's just about outran him. And she busted her.
Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys. It is Tuesday. We're a day behind this week.
That's my fault.
That's okay. It's okay. April 25th, correct?
Yep.
We're on episode 30. No, this is 38.
37.
No, this was 37.
Oh, shit.
This is 38.
Oops. That's my bad. Yeah, because I'm way behind.
That's okay.
Right before we hit record, I told Jarrett that I haven't gotten the last episode posted.
Oh.
Oop. Damn. Hold on. Sorry, guys. There's a spider. Oh, I just killed it. Damn it. Wasn't trying to do that. Anyway, I've been very behind. I still haven't gotten episode 37 posted, but I thought that was 36, so we're actually on 38, but I'll get that posted tonight. So by the time you hear this, or what? Well, just kidding. By the time you hear this, we'll have 2 episodes posted. But anyway, continue. Sorry.
Like I said, it is Tuesday. Week's kind of dragging by so far, but what's new? Anything? How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Feel a lot better. Wasn't feeling well the last couple of days. Like I said, I've been behind. Mentally just been drained. A lot of stuff going on at work, so it's like by the time I get home, I got home at like 7 last night. Wasn't feeling well at all. Didn't want to talk to anybody. Didn't want to be around anybody. I was feeling so sick. Was trying to edit the last episode. I got most of it done, but it's just a lot. I feel a lot better today. Glad to be here. But yeah, other than that, nothing to report, as always. How was we worked on your car over the weekend. That was nice.
We made some pretty good progress Friday night, I think. I got a lot done that I didn't know if we would be able to do.
Yeah.
Got a couple more things to buy. I did end up getting the new rear end on Saturday, so hopefully, fingers crossed, we can make this work, because it's in not the prettiest of shape.
Yeah.
But it's hopefully a step in the right direction. If not, I think we can make work with what we got. It's just going to make the process a little bit more difficult.
Right.
No, I left here at 10 o'clock, 10:30 on Friday, and I was here. I got here at 5:30.
Yeah.
So I was here for about 5 hours working on the car. Dakota helped me out.
I enjoyed it. I like working on cars. Working on the cars, even though I haven't worked on my own. But it was fun. I enjoyed it.
Got really dirty.
We did. That I was thinking too, like that sucks. Like our barn is like small, and then we got like a concrete pad, and then it's like the rest is dirt, which is my great grandpa built that barn. And so like that was kind of like his vision, I guess, was like I can have the dirt to work on the cars, not have to worry about cleaning up spills or anything like that, because it just absorbs into the dirt, which was like fair, but like it sucks when you're working on a race car and you have to like get in the dirt. It's hard to jack it up sometimes.
Yeah, that's the difficult part is we have to lay metal plates down to put the jacks on, and like you have to make sure everything's flat and not wobbly.
Yeah.
So I agree though. It does help with the not having to clean up spills and stuff.
Yeah.
But there are cons to that as well.
Yeah.
But all in all, we make it work. I'm not complaining. I'm appreciative that you all let me keep my car here and stuff like that. So, but no, Dakota was out helping me, got dirty, covered in brake fluid and dirt, and laying up underneath the car with me. I think we were underneath the car for like an hour. My back hurt after that.
Yeah, it was rough at points,
but we got done what we needed. Got some more issues to think about fixing. We got the front tires back on, and then I spun one, and I'm like, oh.
Something don't sound right.
That don't sound good. And it's like the brake pad is...
It's like glued.
It is glued to the rotor. Like the wheel will spin, but it's definitely rubbing a lot on both sides. Now, if you hit the brake pedal, it won't spin at all. Like, that's fine, but I think I'm going to take them off and try and press the cylinder or the piston back out so that it'll release, and then put them back on and pump it up a little bit and see if it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's a simple fix and not.
I'm hoping and praying.
I mean, those brakes only have roughly 150 laps on them, which is quite a bit for how hard I am on them. But they still look like they're in very good shape.
Yeah.
The pads look good anyway.
Right. I agree.
But yeah. Let's see what else. I think that's.
Well, I was going to say this at the end of the show. I guess I'll say it now. So, I don't know. It's been a blur. What we talk about on past episodes. I think I was still talking about maybe racing. I've made up my mind, which I'm going to sound like and look like an idiot, but originally I made an announcement that probably 5 people saw, which is fine because it helps my case a little bit. But I made the decision at the time not to race this year, take time away from driving and focus on some other things. After talking with some people that, won't let up on it, which I'm very appreciative of, by the way, and working on Jarrett's car with him, I will be racing this year. I just don't know when or what races. I know I'm not going to make the first race, which is fine. I kind of want to see what the competition looks like this year because I know there's a lot of people moving up to the Crown Vics and such. So going to see where I want to go, if I want to stay in the pros or go back down to the stocks. But I will be racing at some point. I'm really itching now, I think, to try out a Crown Vic. Not in a race setting, but definitely like we were talking about last time.
He sat in mine Friday night to help bleed brakes, and
I was like, "Damn, I need to give this a try." But I definitely want to do that this year. I think take one of the cars out there and just run some laps by myself and see what it's like. But yeah, I will be racing this year. I just don't know when. But I'm excited. I mean, I love being behind the wheel, and I knew it was going to suck not being behind the wheel this year. Especially going to the track, like Dad said. Like, you're paying $30 regardless, so you might as well take it out there.
That's true.
So,
and we're racing on Saturday, so it's not like you guys have to worry about being out there till midnight and waking up to go to work the next morning.
Right, because
I think that helps that situation a lot.
Yeah. So, and like when I made that announcement, my parents were begging me not to say anything. And I was like, no, like, this is the right decision. Like, I want to take some type of responsibility in helping us grow. I guess I can do both. I just felt like I couldn't, but I think I can. But yeah, making that announcement sucked. I was like, I don't want to do this, but it's like maybe I should take some time away.
Are you gonna run pros or are you gonna run stock?
I don't know yet. I'm definitely gonna see what the competition looks like. I can see pros and cons for both. I will say I would like to run the pros, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'm going to see what the competition looks like. Like I said, a lot of guys have been talking about moving up to Crown Vics, and if they do that, I don't believe they can run both, or that was a rule at a time. I don't know. So I'm definitely going to wait and see.
I know someone that is running both.
Really? Yeah, okay. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to make the first race. The car's nowhere near ready, and we got, 2 weeks?
Take it out there like it is. Slap the wheels on and go.
Maybe. But I'm not sure yet. I'll make my mind up then. Like I said, I don't know what races I'm going to run. If I'm going to try to get in the second race, if I'm going to hold off and maybe do half a season like I have before. But, I mean, I will be racing at some point this year, so I'm very excited to get... I mean, I dreaded not being behind the wheel and thinking about it, but, yeah, I'm excited. So I will be doing that this year at some point. But... Anyway.
Great news.
Yeah.
I was super bummed because, Dakota was a big reason why I got into racing because I'm like, Dakota's racing. I'm like, that would be fun. Now, there were other factors that played into me getting my car, too, but I think knowing, Dakota racing made that a lot easier for me to be like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fun being out there with you guys anyway. Regardless of what the capacity is, but I enjoy us all being out there as drivers. And you guys keep saying that, like you have been saying, oh, you played a part in me getting into it too. And it's just it's crazy to think about because every time you say that, I just remember the first time we actually hung out because I'm like, this kid ain't gonna like me. And I didn't realize you liked racing as much as I do. So it was just crazy. And then just to see our friendship build over that.
Right.
So it is cool.
And now we have a podcast together.
We do. So it is cool. So I appreciate that you feel that way. And mom and dad have been very hard on me. I know there's been some other people that they've talked to, who have been kind of shocked about that too. So, I love being at the track regardless of what I'm doing, but I'm excited to make the announcement, I guess, that I'm rescinding my previous statements of not racing.
Well, I'm glad you'll be out there.
Yeah.
That just means, I would like to get some at the track content, but I did just buy some new stuff for the GoPro, as you saw. So we'll be able to do some on the car mounts for each of us. We'll figure something out there.
Yeah.
But
I mean, the plan is still to take the camera out there. I'll probably recruit Bailey or somebody to at least hold the camera for us while we're talking about stuff, but or however we do it. It'll be some. I'm thinking of like a vlog style thing, obviously. So we'll see. But that's the goal for me too, is try to get some content out there. I think it'd be cool, and it's like, what's going to hurt if we do? You know what I mean? So.
And I think that'll be really fun to do if we go to other tracks as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like if we ever venture out to somewhere besides Mount Lawn, like I know I want to run dirt. Your dad's thinking about it.
I would love to run Circle City.
Yeah. So I mean, just getting some insight, vlogging while we're at different tracks and learning. Like we're all learning how to drive still. We're all fairly new. Dakota has the most experience when it comes to driving on a racetrack out of all of us. But
I'm still learning.
We're all still learning. So it's just like as we can go through this process and then venture to different places and hopefully have some success.
Yeah. Yep. That's the goal, is to just build this team up. I was looking at our team picture today at work while I was writing the show notes, and I was just like, I saw like my tiny car and your guys' big Crown Vics, and I was like, damn, it'd be so cool if I can get a Crown Vic. I don't want to just jump in. I'm not that ballsy, but I just think it'd be cool to run 3 Crown Vics. I've been thinking about that for a second too, which is why I want to get behind the wheel of one just to see. But so that's also a possibility, maybe in the next couple of years, get into a Crown Vic.
Would you get rid of your compact for a Crown Vic, or are you gonna?
I don't know, because the goal in my mind, my crazy mind, is to. I would love to run the Vor series. So I mean, if somebody wrote a check and said, "Here's this money to go run the Vor series," I would do both or try to. I don't know. I love that car though. There's just something about it that I'm like, I don't want to see it go, but never say never, I guess. So
listen, I really want to get Bradley over here to run my car for me for a few laps and be like, what can I do?
Yeah.
How, as far as like let him watch my driving line, or because he has a background in Crown Vics, like he knows, he's familiar with them.
Yeah.
Relatively familiar with them, more than I am, I think. But yeah, I just think any sort of insight. I know your dad's been talking to people. He's got some people that are probably going to give him some advice. So hopefully some of this pays off and we get out there and make a name for ourselves, I guess.
I hope so. But my mind is crazy, so I don't need people hyping me up, because I'm like,
you could always go to the bank and ask for a $20,000.
I would never. That's a different conversation for another day. I would never do that though. But yeah.
Respect for trying though.
No, I don't think so. If you knew the person and you knew their background, absolutely not. Now, if it was someone like me that was like trying to get something going, yeah, I would be like, I applaud the effort, but not this person. Not at all. He could probably cut us a check for $20,000.
You think so?
And not sweat it. Oh, I guarantee it.
Really?
Yeah. Well off. But anyway, yeah, so that's the announcement I was planning on making today. So I guess it is something new. I normally don't have anything new to say. So,
well, that just means we're going to have to get to work on your car to get a race ready.
I know.
It's a lot of work, but
it is.
But
I believe in us.
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially assuming like your dad and I can get all of our stuff put together, and maybe.
Well, that's going to be priority number 1, getting you guys ready to go and whatnot, and then we could turn our focus on mine.
But like, if we can make it out of the first race, kind of not really have a whole lot to do afterwards, we can have all 3 of us just going to town on your car. They'll be back in no time.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I think if we really wanted to, we could have it almost ready to go in a night.
Yeah.
It'd be a late night, but it'd be night.
I got to get some stuff ordered, and we'll go from there. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for this year. I've been saying, like, I think there's a lot of, I don't know, I don't know what episode it was. We were shit talking manifestation, and I was like, I kind of buy into it, but I'm not like that big into it. But like, I don't know. It's just like I feel like a lot of things are starting to maybe go our way, and like I can see like visions of what I want for us and all of this, and it's just like I think it could happen in the next couple of years if we really just work towards what we want. So I'm excited. I really think this is going to be a turning point year for us. I think we will have a lot of successes between the three of us. I hope anyway. So I'm excited.
Like I said, I really like if I in the year and I have won a heat race, I'll be perfectly
A win's
fine.
a win in my book. So
Just to know that, like, I think the big thing I want to take away from this season is seat time and learning how to drive. You know, like they say, if you can drive Mount Lawn, you can drive anywhere.
Yep.
But I mean, I want to take what I learn at Mount Lawn and how to drive that track and hopefully go to other places and be able to apply it.
Yeah.
Now, I understand it might be a little different on dirt, but if I go to like Shady Bowl or whatever, certain things where I'm like, okay, you know, I need to not mash the brake. I need to be easier on the brake or throttle and throttle control and this, that, and the other. It's a whole learning process.
Yep.
And like I want to be able. I think we should try to take a lot of notes this year.
That's something that I've thought about doing.
Not mental notes. I mean,
yes,
put it on paper.
Yeah.
That way we can just keep track of stuff and be like, okay, well, this is what we did here, or I noticed this when I drove this way, or this, that, and the other, and kind of just relay that information to each other and always have it. So it's like, okay, well, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah. No, I agree.
But anyway,
Now we can get into the show.
the green flag is out, and we've been rolling 3 wide with DJG.
All right. We'll kick off today's episode with Talladega post race. The ARCA
Talladega.
This weekend was gosh, last week I do remember we talked about like the anxiety of these races, and it just like my heart rate definitely went up several times this weekend. So, the ARCA series kicked off the weekend on Saturday, racing for 76 laps. The race, which only saw 4 cautions, saw Jesse Love grab the win over his teammate Gus Dean, Brett Holmes, Andre Perez de Lara, and Sean Corr finished out the top 5. Frankie Muniz, who finished 9th, now holds the top spot in points standings. Greg Van Alst, who had led the point standing prior to Talladega, wrecked out on lap 15 and was scored 32nd. He now sits 3rd, 13 points behind Muniz and 10 points behind Jesse Love. I want to say huge congrats. I mean, I feel terrible for Greg. I was definitely rooting for him. But Frankie Muniz, dude, is freaking badass. And he's talking, like, leading up to the race, he's like, I dreamed that I was racing here and I won here. He didn't win, but he finished top 10. He now leads the point standings, and he's talked about wanting to win the championship, and I think he's a threat for the championship this year.
I honestly don't see why he couldn't, as long as he has solid finishes.
Which I think he's had all year. I mean, they've only ran 3 races, but still, I mean, it's like he's got a good start to the season. If he can hold that momentum, he's a threat.
How many races do they run in ARCA?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
We'll have to look.
It's a handful, but he's, like I said, he's had a great start to the season. So as long as he can hold that momentum, I think he's definitely.
But I think we'll see a big change just because 2 of the races they've ran were super speedways.
Yeah.
So we'll see how he does when he comes to some more technical racetracks.
Well, and I know.
Now, he has a little bit of a late model background, so I think he understands.
Yeah.
But
he doesn't have a lot of experience.
Right. These cars are a little different than a late model, so we'll see.
Yeah, I know he was talking about, or they were talking about, I think Dover is a track that he might struggle at because it's a smaller track. So, yeah, we'll absolutely have to see. But, I mean, I have confidence in him. He's shown great driving skills, and I think that as long as he puts in the work, I really think he is somebody that's going to be in championship talks.
I'm excited to watch some of these smaller tracks for these guys because, like, there's names like Jesse Love, Greg Van Oss, who we've watched in super late models that are going to get after each other again in ARCA on the short track, and you're just going to be like, wow.
Yeah.
I hope it's kind of like the same energy, you know what I mean?
Oh, I think it will. I especially with a lot of the late model guys who've raced together, I think it's going to be pretty high intensity. So I'm excited. I agree 100%. Moving on to the Xfinity Series, they followed the ARCA Series on Saturday, where Jeb Bush grabbed his second career series win.
Jeb Bush. Jeb Burton.
Applaud. Sorry, I don't know what the
fuck does Kyle Petty have anything to do?
Jeb Burton, not the Bush, Burton. Jeb Burton grabbed his second career. Jeb Bush.
We went from NASCAR to politics real quick.
Clap. No, sorry. Let me restart that. Jeb Burton grabbed his second career win and the first for Jordan Anderson Racing after 2 overtime attempts. Glad to see Jordan is on the up and up from his incident at Talladega last season. That was definitely scary. Congratulations to him for getting his first win for the team. Sheldon Creed, Parker Kligerman, Cole Custer, and Brennan Poole rounded out the top 5. Custer also won the $100,000 dash for cash bonus with his 4th place finish. The race, which had 10 cautions and 2 red flags, only saw 19 cars finish. The first red flag came on after the number 2 of Blaine Perkins got upside down and rolled 6 times. Very scary crash. Perkins, who climbed out under his own power, was transported to a local hospital for further treatment. He has since been released. The second red flag came out during the closing laps of the race as Daniel Hamrick also got upside down following a multi-car crash. Hamrick was able to climb out of the car under his own power and was checked and released from the infield care center.
Blaine Perkins' wreck was scary. And the way that they showed it, because it was, you saw the one car fly down to the inside.
And that was a hard hit, too.
That was a hard hit. And I didn't even know the other car flipped.
Yeah, I didn't either.
No idea. And then they panned over to it. So, like, I watched the car hit the wall, and I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
And then they panned over to the car flipping, and I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah, so when I was watching it, I remember seeing the car damn near head first hit the inside wall, pretty close to the end of the safer barrier. And then you see all these parts flying. I'm like, it didn't come from that car. And I think by the time I saw it, Blaine's car was already on 4 wheels, but there was, like, it was destroyed. I was like, how the hell did that happen? And then they showed the replay, and I was like, oh. It was a rough ride for sure. Glad both of them are okay.
I also want to know how on earth Kaz Gralla hit that tire.
I don't know.
I know he saw it.
I don't know.
You had to have. It was like it was in your sight for like 15 seconds. I mean, it was slow-mo, so it wasn't 15 seconds. But it was, I don't know how you didn't see it, or if he thought it was going to bounce and then he could just drive underneath it.
Yeah, I didn't.
Miscalculated.
I guess, but that was scary too. I mean, that was a lot of damage on his car. Obviously, these tires are heavy, but it was a very scary crash. One for the weekend, but like I said, glad that everybody was okay. We'll get into the safety aspect here in a second. Side note, especially about the Xfinity Series, it was announced on Saturday that Greg Van Oss will be making his Xfinity Series debut at Atlanta, competing for Alpha Prime Racing. Just want to say huge congrats to him. He deserves it. I'm excited to see what he can do at Atlanta.
Small town Indiana boy.
Hell yeah.
I do want to go back real quick.
Yeah.
I wanted Parker to win that race so bad.
Yeah.
I thought he could have done it. I really thought he could have done it. But obviously the way things fell. And Cole Custer won the Dash for Cash, obviously, but he was the last car of the 4.
Yeah.
that was still driving.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a pretty good race. I honestly think, in my opinion, I think the Xfinity race may have been a little bit better than the Cup race. I don't know. There were certain aspects of the Cup race that I liked, but
I just think, which sucks, but overall, I think Xfinity usually puts on better racing.
Oh yeah. But that's a story for another time.
Yes. Lastly, the Cup Series closed out the weekend on Sunday, where Kyle Busch got lucky and scored the win following the caution on the last lap of the race. Wallace, who had been leading through 3 late blocks, with the last one resulting in Ryan Blaney spinning him. Wallace was scored 28th and took the blame following the race. Despite the contact, Ryan Blaney finished second, followed by Cole Buescher, Chase Briscoe, and Brad Keselowski. The biggest news from the day came after a hard crash involving Ryan Preece and Kyle Larson, which was triggered after contact was made between Ross Chastain and Noah Gragson. Preece, who had moved up high on the track and throttled up, did not see Larson come back up the track, making very hard contact to the right side of his car. The aftermath saw the right side of Kyle Larson's cage completely mangled. Preece's in-car gave a look inside on how violent the wreck was for him as well. This has since sparked the conversation on the safety of these cars. NASCAR has also taken possession of both cars, which they will be analyzing.
I don't want to be this guy, but it's Chris Buescher.
What did I say?
Cole.
Oh, gosh, dang it. Damn.
It's okay.
Oh, yeah, it is. Sorry, my bad.
No, it's okay.
It's been a long day.
I didn't want to be that guy, but...
No, it's okay. You should have. Chris Buescher, my bad.
I don't know.
Well, okay, I wanted to talk about, because we disagreed on this, the contact between Ross Chastain and Noah Gragson. I think Ross was a bit aggressive.
I do too.
And I think he tried to make a hole that wasn't necessarily there. And I want to say, because I know we disagreed, I didn't want to follow up with it in the text, but I personally, I will say, I think Ross did what he had to do. I 100% agree on that. But I also like to think that if you are not further ahead, like if your nose is not at that door, I don't think you have the position. I think he forced his way in, which again, I understand, but I think he was just a bit too aggressive too early.
Okay, I'll agree with you there. I personally think the hole was there. Mm-hmm. But at that point in time, I don't think he should have taken it. Mm-hmm. Now, I understand you have Noah Gragson in front of you, who is a rookie in the Cup Series, isn't used to being up front like that.
Right.
So maybe that was something that was going through his head. But then he had a nose in there, and Noah kept coming down. And obviously being at the front of the pack, you can't just lift in that situation. So I think there was multiple things from both parties there that contributed to that. And like you said, I think it was a couple laps too early. Mm-hmm. But then on the flip side, what was going through Ross's head? Is it, hey, I have a rookie in front of me. I don't know
how he's going to handle up here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely think it was a racing incident. I just think it was I think it was just too aggressive at that moment. But it is Talladega. You're doing everything you can. So I just wanted to talk about that a little bit because I've seen a lot of mixed reactions. A lot of people saying no, like Noah came down on Ross, which, I mean, yeah, I think Noah did say he just didn't see him there. But a lot of people were also on Noah's side saying like, well, the hole wasn't there or whatever. And Ross definitely made it. I mean, regardless of how you lay it out.
I do want to say, though, Noah did a fantastic job up until that point. Like, I'm not
the
saying
30 seconds he was up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he was up towards the front for a while. I mean,
Yeah.
he was just hanging out, doing his thing.
Yeah.
I can tell he's very hesitant to push people because there's a significantly larger gap between him and the car in front of him and between everybody else. But that'll come with experience in the Cup car.
I mean, he did spin Harrison, which he took blame for. And I think that is going to come with...
I don't even think he should have took blame for that because they covered that. And yeah, maybe it was a little mistimed. But if you watch the replay, they pointed it out that there's a bump right there because of the tunnel.
Because of the tunnel.
He just happened, so Harrison hit the bump. It unloaded the rear right about the time Noah touched him.
Yep.
And that's what sent him.
Yep.
So, I mean, I don't think it was Noah's. I don't think Noah
I think
at
it was just
fault.
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
a
yeah.
racing thing. It was bad timing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good intentions, bad timing.
Yeah.
But obviously, no, I don't think Noah. You're driving 200 miles an hour with the car in front of you. You can't really see what's in front of you, so you didn't know where he was. You didn't know where he was going to hit the thing, hit that bump.
No, I agree. Yeah.
I also want to talk about. I don't know if you have this highlighted on here, but Bubba.
Yeah.
Getting wrecked at the end.
Now, so I saw a lot of Bubba criticism, which teach their own. I mean, okay, I just gave Ross shit, but I said I think he was doing what he was doing. I just think it was too early. Now, Bubba, I think, was also doing what he needed to do to win that race. Now, you can't throw late blocks. Everybody knows that, and he even acknowledged that. I would not have thrown that block. I think Blaney was obviously there, but Bubba did what he did, and it got him wrecked.
Yes. And Bubba's car couldn't handle a push all day.
No.
It was very swirly.
And they mentioned that in the broadcast that his car was very loose up front.
Him and Ty Gibbs both.
Yeah.
When they were behind one another and Bubba was pushing Ty Gibbs, I was like, man, they're going to stack the whole field up.
And you saw that on the second block, I believe. Blaney got up behind him, gave him a push, and it got his rear end out. So his car was just not handling it well. But the third block, which obviously was the one that got him wrecked, was a very late block. But I'm not going to fault Bubba for that. I mean, he was doing what he was doing and what he had to do, and it got him wrecked.
Bubba's a really good super speedway racer.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of like...
I mean, he was running up there all day.
I'm gonna compare him to Hunter on iRacing. Hunter lacks a little at most other tracks, but you put him on a super speedway, and he's like, yeah, I'm up front.
But you know how they say about super speedways, it's not necessarily talent as much as it is just luck.
Yeah, but I mean, it still takes talent to pick gaps to shoot when lines are... I'm
going to say something I'm going to say something controversial. And I don't want to, but I'm going to.
Do it.
A lot of people give Bubba shit, which, you know, I've had my criticisms as well. But I don't think they're giving him enough credit on how he is as a driver.
I think he's done a lot better this season. Mm-hmm. Like, he's actually showing that...
He has the ability to do stuff. It's just a matter of, you know, the situation, I guess.
Again, I think most people only have an issue with Bubba was because of the way NASCAR stuffed him in front of us.
Yeah. And I agree.
I mean, people are like that with Chase.
Yeah.
They're tired of seeing Chase this, Chase that.
Yep.
Chase
And
this,
people
Chase
criticized NASCAR's handling of that when he was making his return. So I get it 100%, but I'm not, you know, I don't like half of the guys on the driving list, but I'll tell you what, I'm not going to talk down on their skills. If they're good, they're good.
Yeah.
As much as I hate them.
I mean, at the end of the day, he's racing a cup car and I'm not. So I can't criticize too much. You know what I mean? Like, he could come down here and absolutely tear up how I drive because I don't know what I'm doing.
Right. I kind of want to backtrack, though, on Ross Chastain. I definitely, you know, I like Ross. I think he's done a lot of stupid shit, but I don't necessarily want to blame him for what happened between him and Noah, but I just want to say again that I just think it was a little early and too aggressive for the timing that it happened. But again, I get it. Going for the win at Talladega, I would probably have done the same thing and not thought a second about it.
A lot of people are complaining about the 2 wide racing too instead of it being 3 wide. There were times that they went 3 wide.
There was, but you know the momentum just wasn't there half the time.
Well, I don't know if it was Ryan Blaney that was discussing why that was even a possibility. Mm-hmm. Because typically, if you had a third lane like that, especially with these cars, it's just not there.
Yep.
But because this turned into a fuel saving race, and Ryan Blaney was lifting and stuff to, you know, stay close to the guy behind him instead of getting out too far. That allowed the outside line to just be full throttle the whole time and keep their momentum up with the other 2 lines. Mm-hmm. Now, I will say that there was times where the line was there, and I'm like, oh, they're coming. And then within a lap, it was gone.
Yep.
It totally disappeared.
Yep.
I also want to say Eric Almirola is a really good pusher.
Yeah.
Like, there was sometimes I'm like, stop pushing him. You're too far ahead of everybody.
Right.
But, man.
Yeah, I agree with that, too. Okay, we got off track. I want to go back to the safety of these cars. What happened between Larson and Priest sparked a lot of conversation. I was at work while I was writing these notes, looking up very similar, trying to find crashes that might have been similar. I was trying to look up in-car cameras of drivers being thrown around in their seats. I found a couple. They were nowhere close, but Ryan Priest moved around a lot in that car.
He hit so hard his visor came up.
He hit the steering wheel with his helmet.
Oh, he did?
Yes, it looked like it. So I'm going to say he did. And if he didn't, it was very close. It was just a very violent wreck for both of them.
I mean,
but that's concerning how much he moved.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was someone I don't know if it was someone who actually knows what they were talking about or just kind of talking out of their butt. Mm-hmm. But it made sense. Belts stretch.
Yeah.
Right? So there was a lot of times with sprint car drivers, he said, I would tell people, because he ran tech or something like that. Mm-hmm. He said, I would tell people to tighten your belts so tight that you can almost, like, that you can't move. Mm-hmm. because they stretch.
Yeah.
And that's a prime example. I mean, even in the in-car, you hear Ryan Preece throttled up because he's like, he thought he could miss it.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, Larson just shot up the track. And at that point, there's nothing you could do. He was still going pretty fast.
Yeah.
And, I mean, like, the fact that he hit so hard, his visor on his helmet flipped up.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, just the look on his face after he hit, he was like, son of a bitch, that hurt.
Yeah.
Thankfully, they are both okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I am 100% confident that if that was Larson's driver's side backing, if he was backing up the track, Larson would probably be dead.
Oh, yeah. If not very seriously injured.
Very seriously injured. Like worse than Ryan Newman's accident injured.
Yeah. I will say, I want to make a couple points here. One, Priest did an interview, I believe it was today, and said that he had a conversation with Harvick, and Harvick suggested, let's look at your belts and see what needs to be done about that, because that is concerning. Number two, following the wreck on Sunday, Larson had an interview after he left the infield care center and said, I'm very lucky that nothing inside the car got me.
Because he said the cockpit is a mess.
Yes. Obviously everybody has seen the pictures by now. The entire right side of his cage was mangled. And I was doing some research to try to find some similar crashes, and I found an article, and I don't remember which publication, so I apologize. But they said, they did some research and couldn't find any wrecks that were similar. They found one, and that was Xfinity at Daytona a few years ago. I don't remember when. But it was Creed and Joe Graff Jr. Very similar accident, as close as you can get. And Creed's right side was mangled, just as you could tell that it was pushed in. But what I wanted to look at was, did the cage fail like this? And you can't find any pictures of Creed's car, which is interesting. But I wanted to know if the cage failed as much as Larson's did, because it looked like Larson's cage failed, which is very concerning. Obviously, when you wreck like that, you're going to have, the bars pushed in. You might have them mangled just as much. But, I mean, it looked like, and I think a lot of people were saying that welds were broken, which is kind of concerning.
Well, I want to make another point. Was it last year at Talladega? It was an Xfinity car. Basically got stuck in the fence. Like, it hit the fence going 200 miles an hour and completely destroyed the car.
Myatt Snyder.
But you know what wasn't screwed up? The cage.
Yeah.
Now, I know he didn't get blindsided by another vehicle, but you're also going almost 200 miles an hour to a fence, getting caught by, the body of the car got ripped off by a fence. Like, it messed up the catch fence, I believe.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's situations like that where, I mean, maybe it's not the same amount of forces or, it wasn't a strong impact, but you're also going from 200 to stop.
Yeah.
So, I mean, momentum and, stress on welds and fasteners or whatnot, and, I don't know. I just feel like something like that, yes, they hit extremely hard. But I still don't think that cage should ever get mangled that bad.
And I'm not going to sit here and act like I know what the hell I'm talking about, because I don't know anything about anything. But I agree. I think it is a bit concerning. And, I was sitting at work today at lunch, and I was just thinking, I was like, thinking back to the beginning of the season when the next gen was first introduced, and they were talking about doing the crash testing, and then there were rumors coming out that the crash test dummies died, and NASCAR denying it. I'm like, maybe that was true.
It very well may be.
I always believed that these cars were unsafe, and I always kind of bought into the theory that the crash test dummies died. And after seeing what I saw on Sunday, I'm very concerned. I mean, go back to when Kurt Busch got his concussion. We've been knew that these cars are very rigid. And even talking about these cars hold up so much better than the last cars. Yes, because the idea, and I thought this in my head at work, the idea of having cars that can withstand wrecks like that and have minimal damage is a great theory on paper. But when you apply it to the real world, you think about, okay, well, these cars withstand these hits, which is great, but who's taking the force of that? And it's always been the drivers.
$1 million idea, $1 execution.
Absolutely.
But I also want to note that they said that they were going to try to recreate this.
I hope they do, and I really wish that they would.
I 100% agree. But they shouldn't have to recreate it. I feel like that's a pretty simple possible situation that should have been handled during the initial testing.
That I agree with. And so I wanted to say, yes, I agree. I hope that they recreate it. I hope that, and I highly doubt this, but I hope that they release the information. I highly doubt it. That'll stay internal. But I agree with you. This should have been tested when the car was first designed.
Now, we also talked the initial...
Sorry, I just want to say, like you were saying, side impacts like this are not uncommon.
No. And I mean, I feel like that should be tested to like the worst case scenario, like full throttle, 200 miles an hour, coming up the track, boom.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I know that they pushed back the release of the next gen car, but I still think it was rushed.
I agree.
I think when it comes to people's safety, every single possibility that they could come up with should have been tested.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm sorry if you have to delay the release of the next gen car another year, 2 years. So be it. At least your drivers aren't getting hurt and complaining or basically are fearing for their life every time they get in the car.
Yep. And, well, first of all, I agree with you 100% on that. Damn, I lost my train of thought. But, yeah, I agree 100%. You know, drivers still are concerned. Oh, I was going to say, if I was a driver, there is no way in hell you couldn't pay me enough to step foot in one of those cars. I would not do it. And I also want to say, I found it, is that I'm shocked by how much NASCAR has taken a step back in safety. It seems like the previous cars seemed safe as hell, and then you get this new car and it's supposed to be safe and more efficient and all this blah 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 blah, and they haven't been. That's concerning to me.
I know one thing about these cars that is better than the previous is they don't want to flip.
Yeah,
the air doesn't get underneath them. That is one positive I can take from this car.
Yeah,
but I'm going to compare NASCAR to my work. You know, on the shade side, it's just window shades, right? Nothing insanely spectacular, but you have possible big, heavy steel rollers with fabric hanging above your head.
Mm-hmm.
So when we release new products or do revisions to components, we do life cycle testing. Very rigorous testing. We add like the most amount of weight to increase the torque on the motor, this, that, and the other. Do every worst case scenario. And if the testing brings up errors that would push back the release date, we push back the release date. No, it's not ideal, but it beats us selling a product that's dropping 12-foot long steel rollers on people's heads because a part fails.
Yep.
So why are we rushing, or at least I feel like, why are we rushing the release of a race car that people are going 200 miles an hour in, and it's hurting people?
Yep.
I'm sorry, but that's bad business.
Oh, absolutely. NASCAR has been in the business of bad business for a while. And, you know, we're starting to see, I mean, drivers have been vocal, but it's also like, it seems like it's died down a little bit. You know, team owners recently just boycotted a meeting with NASCAR. I really want somebody in that circle to start demanding that NASCAR talk.
Yeah.
I think NASCAR has a lot of explaining to do about a lot of things, and I wish people would put more pressure on them to do so. Because I agree with you 100%. I think this car has been rushed, and, you know, we're very lucky to not have seen somebody die yet, but I'm not convinced that we won't see somebody get seriously hurt.
I mean,
or worse.
AJ said, he's like, I don't think NASCAR is going to be satisfied until they kill somebody.
Yeah.
Which sounds bad, but that's the way things seem right now. And it's just like, why? That's
well, I was thinking about that today too. I don't necessarily know if I buy into that theory or thought process. I don't think they'll be satisfied per se, but I think they'll get a lot of sympathy if that were to happen. God forbid. But I don't think I don't think that they will. They will not do anything about this until somebody is killed, and then they'll finally. I mean, look at how long it took 2 drivers to get concussions before they finally said, "Okay, we're going to revise the rear end of these cars."
One is too many.
Exactly. And that driver, Kurt Busch, is still not fully recovered, as far as I know.
No.
So, yeah, it is very concerning. And I don't know. It's not a good look.
I want to know what the conclusions are from the testing that they're going to do, recreating that wreck with Larson and Preece.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was Bob that tweeted, he doesn't think that it'll be made public. It'll stay internal, which I guarantee it. But the only outcome from this, he believes, might be rule changes. But it's like, is that good enough?
How's a rule change going to fix that?
How they build the cages, I don't know. And it's just like, these are supposed to be very safe cars, and I'm not convinced that they are all that safe.
No.
So I don't know. It's ridiculous, I think.
They look good, but it's a death trap on wheels.
Yeah, and we got lucky Sunday, because I agree with you 100%. If it was the driver's side, we're very lucky that it wasn't worse than what it was, because, I mean, that cage failed. And so, what would have happened if the stars did align and it went further? The car, Preece's car penetrated further into Larson's car. Those bars did catch Larson somehow.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what if Preece hadn't even slowed down?
Yeah.
What if it was just there was no time to react and Preece was still in the gas? I mean, he throttled up, obviously, but he still wasn't full speed.
Yeah. So
what happens if he was full speed?
And, I know I'm not even going to get into that. I just know that, NASCAR has invested so much money into R&D, and I think they have made great strides in the focus of safety. But it's also like hell, I saw somebody, I don't even remember who, on Twitter talking about like the short track guys basically need to shut up about this because they've been involved in this. And I'm like, I've seen late models withstand accidents that could have easily been fatal. It's like, yeah, you're not going as fast as Cup cars, but still.
I mean, for example, when we went to Bristol, that car spun out of 4, and the guy that was running with him, no spotter, had no idea the car was there. Mm-hmm. And obviously at Bristol, the turn is so tight and banked that you can't see anything. You are literally staring at pavement in front of you while you're in the corner, because that's just how it is. So you come out of the turn, and all of a sudden there's a car sitting sideways in front of you. You can't do anything. And he blasted the dude.
Yeah.
And trashed 2 cars.
Yeah. And
guess what?
Yeah.
The guy that was a sitting duck that got nailed, got in his backup car and went out and raced.
Yeah. And I've seen, I've shared pictures on Facebook of late models that have hit the wall nearly head on and things like that. And
the front end of the car is gone. It's flat into the wall.
Right, but their cages look like they held up pretty well. And it's like, yes, I know it's not the exact same because Cup cars are going 200 miles an hour down Talladega, but still, it's like, surely, God, there's you could take some things away.
What about that truck race at Five Flags? Was it last year? Guy got right hooked into the wall and ended up smacking the wall pretty good. He was flipping or whatever. I mean,
for the most part, that cage held up. Again, they're not carrying the same amount of speeds, but still, it's like
they're probably not putting as much money into their roll cages. And I guarantee you, a roll cage in a truck or a super late model isn't supposed to be as strong as that in a Cup car.
You would think that Cup cars would be stronger built.
Now, I could be very wrong here.
Oh, I'm sure we probably are and whatnot. But I just want to say that I have seen cages in late models and trucks and things like that. Like the Xfinity cars seem to have held up better in the past than these no Cup cars. So I don't know. I think there's a lot to look at. I think NASCAR does need to make some comments about it. I hope that they do publicize the findings, because I think they should let people. I mean, I don't know. It's like, what are you hiding? What are you worried about? Because, if your studies come back conclusive that these cars are safe and it was just a one-off incident, of course there's always going to be failures. You can't get everything perfect, but that's a life-threatening failure.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, say this was a one-off situation. It happened, though, so How can you prevent this from happening again in the future?
And that's exactly the whole principle of engineering. I know, because I took a class at Ivy Tech.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It's very, it's not going to happen a lot, but it will happen. And
like I said, we've said, side impacts are not uncommon. They're not. So it's I definitely think we got lucky. NASCAR's gotten lucky. Drivers have gotten lucky. But I think that luck is going to run out eventually.
It's got to.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Next race is at Dover. I'm kind of excited for this. I like
I am
Dover.
too.
So we have on Friday the ARCA. ARCA race is at 5:30. It will be on Flow. The Xfinity Series race is Saturday at 1:30 on FS1. And the Cup race is on Sunday at 2 on FS1. You also have a note here that says the ratings were equal to last year for this race, Talladega.
And I saw that today. And Eric believes that Chase played a part in it. They just don't know how much. I don't know. Don't have a thought on that. But it is good to see that ratings haven't dipped.
There was a
as they have
podcast, and I forget which one it was, but it's the one that's got. It's not. I don't think it's Denny's, is it? But it's got like Bubba Wallace's spotter on it.
Door bumper clear.
And they were talking about who's your top 3 or whatever, and he said something about Chase, and they're like, "Well, what has Chase done? Like, why is he in the spotlight?" And I'm like, "Well, one, like he's very like marketable.
Yes, he's very popular.
And that's why he's popular.
He comes from a racing dynasty.
Comes from a racing background. Not to mention, he's won a championship, and he came his second race back from having a broken leg. He won a stage and almost won the second stage.
Yeah. I definitely think Chase is more of one of the realer drivers. He doesn't put up a front. He's very himself, and he will tell you how it is.
I just don't get how you're going to sit there and be like, well, what has Chase Elliott done? He won a championship.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's talented.
Yeah, and he might be a Nepo baby, which we've had that conversation before, but damn it, he's proven himself.
He has, 100%.
Yeah, I that's an L take.
Shut up, bitch!
That's an L take. Vape break. No, yeah, I disagree wholeheartedly on that. Yeah, disagree.
All right.
I'll let you take this topic because
Yes.
you brought it up. I didn't get to listen to it. I had to watch it with the captions, but I think this is an awesome concept.
So Denny's approach to it is slightly different. It's the same concept, but slightly different. So a while ago, I mentioned something about the playoff format in NASCAR. A lot of people think it's broken. It's very confusing, difficult, because you have stage points, you have playoff points.
Do you agree with that? Because you sent me the TikTok, and I went to read the comments because I always do, and I saw that your comment was the very first one to pop up, and you're kind of getting into a disagreement with somebody. But he made that point that it is confusing. What's your thoughts on that?
I don't know, because yes, maybe it is a little difficult. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily think so. I think for someone who doesn't really watch racing, isn't a frequent flyer, when it comes to racing, yes.
Yeah.
But when you break it down and actually look at things, and like they lay it out for you whenever they show points. I mean, at the end of the day, it's who has the most points, right?
Yeah.
And I was waiting for him. I was really hoping he would make the point along the lines of, well, so-and-so dominated all season and then didn't win the championship. Mm-hmm. And I was going to go straight into, okay, well, an NFL team could have a perfect regular season, but that doesn't guarantee them a Super Bowl.
I think when I checked, he did make that point.
Oh, I didn't see it.
That there have been drivers who have dominated the season, not win. It's like, yeah, that's racing.
That's anything.
There
have been teams in college basketball that have a perfect regular season and
Purdue.
then don't win the national tournament.
Purdue.
I mean, it's just part of it.
Yeah.
Right? But I don't necessarily think it's difficult, but I see where people are coming from. Mm-hmm. However, my point here was, so basically you get rid of that whole playoff format. Mm-hmm. You still have your stage points. Well, we'll just stick with stage points for now.
Okay.
But you have your top 32 in points at the end of the season. You are seeded based on points given based off of your finishing position in races. Stage points are a separate category. So the drivers have incentives to get the stage points because at the end of the regular season or whatever, the driver with the most stage points gets this, so on and so forth, right? Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like its own little thing. the top 32 drivers in points that are given based off their finishing position each race. You turn it into like a March Madness bracket. And moving forward, it's just basically one-on-ones. So it's the top seeded driver versus 32, second versus 31, so on and so forth. And whoever finishes higher out of all of those races. So whoever you're against, if you finish higher than them, you move on. Mm-hmm. And it turns into a whole bracket system until you get down to 2 people. And whoever finishes the best in that last race out of those 2 people wins the championship. That dumbs it down quite a bit. It's not based off points, and Denny makes this point, what I'm getting ready to bring up. So I'm going to leave my conversation there with the playoff. Denny thinks that, he said, NASCAR should absolutely be killing it in ratings during the summer months. Mm-hmm. So what they should do is have the same 32 spots over, 10 weeks?
Yeah.
And the drivers would go head-to-head. They are seeded based on their point standings at week 10. So then, same concept. Whoever wins out of those 2 drivers per whichever matchup moves on. So it'd go 32, 16, 8, 4, 2. He said drivers would be wildly competitive because it forces people to change strategy. Yes, obviously you want to run the race because there's incentives for winning a race. Mm-hmm. But at that point in time, it's survive and advance. Literally a March Madness term. Survive and advance.
Yep.
So you change your whole strategy around because, hey, we're not going for the win technically.
We're just trying to
get past this guy. We
Yep.
need to finish ahead of him. So it's a lot of changing on the fly.
Yep.
Now, there's going to be situations where people get wrecked out. Well, then, okay, do whatever the hell you want. You already advanced. So now I see where that could cause a lot of problems. And later, mm-hmm. say it's the championship 2 and one of the 2 gets wrecked out on the first lap. Then what?
Yeah.
So I see where that could kind of cause some issues. But, I mean, there's obviously some fine-tuning that could be done, too.
Well, and then I could argue, too, though, like we have the Final 4. What if they all wrecked out? I mean, it would just revert back to the overall points, mm-hmm. as far as I know. So it's like there is a risk there where, you have 3 guys wreck out in the Final 4. It's just part of it. But, yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot of fine-tuning that could be done.
Yeah. And so, Denny thinks it would create great storylines. Teams
which NASCAR is thriving for.
Yeah. And so, like, I saw this. I saw Denny say this earlier, and I instantly texted AJ and Dakota. I'm like, I said this months ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, no, I think it's a great outlook on it. And I think a lot of people were saying, well, we don't need this on top of the playoff point thing because it's just gimmicks.
Yep.
And that's why I'm like, okay, well, what if you just replace the playoff point system with this bracket system? And then your stage points, that becomes its own competition itself. And then your seedings just finish well in the first.
Because, I mean, the seedings would be determined based on how many points you have. Playoff points would go into that total. Mm-hmm. So it's not like I really don't see much changing there.
Playoff points wouldn't matter.
No, stage points.
Well, I mean, yeah, you could do that.
Like your stage points would go into your overall point standings.
You could do that. I was just thinking stage points are totally separate.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean,
you are only rewarded points for seeding based off of where you finish the race.
Yeah.
So stage points are totally separate, not correlated to your seeding points whatsoever.
Oh, so you think there should be like 2 awards or something?
Yeah, so like I said, whoever has the most stage points wins or gets this, some sort of incentive. And then, so that encourages people, hey, we still want to win stages during the regular season because there's incentives for it, right? Mm-hmm. But then we also want to have a good seeding, so we want to finish the race well.
Yeah.
So then during the regular season, it's normal racing, right? And then you get to the playoffs, and I like partially how the playoffs are now because it's very technical. It's like, okay, well, this driver needs to pass 8 more people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's super, like, it's very strategic, I think.
Well, and that was the point I wanted to make, too, is, like, look at the playoffs now where, it is very technical like that. You have to do the math on the fly of, okay, well, how many people do we have to pass? Who do we have to pass? That's intense as it is. The racing is very intense then.
That causes people like Ross Chastain to do Ross Chastain.
Yeah. But the racing can get intense at times now because you have to pass so-and-so. Imagine that would amplify if we had this system. And I think that would make the racing a lot better. I agree with that 100%. I think this concept makes that argument that this needs to be something that they need to try.
I also think it'd be cool to see some of the extreme underdogs advance throughout the playoffs. Because some of these guys just don't ever get the opportunity, right? Yeah. So now you have 32 drivers, and it very well could, if the number 1 seed gets wrecked out and the number 32 seed doesn't, he advances to the next round of the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it makes it super, like, it gives everybody, I think, a more fair chance, I guess. I'm not all about participation trophies or whatever, but
that was the whole gimmick with these cars, is that, people are going to be on a more even playing field. All right, well, let's put the money where the mouth is. I agree. You both made the point, you and Denny both made the point that, strategy. I mean, strategy does play a huge part now. But this, he said, and I quote, teams would have to change their strategies during races in order to beat whoever they are racing against to move on to the next round. They do that now. But imagine racing against so-and-so, whoever you want to put up. You have to change your strategy to get around them and to beat them. Your pit strategy is going to be different.
So we're going to put, like, Joey Logano up against, I don't know.
Harrison Burton. Noah Gragson.
Noah Gragson versus Joey Logano. Okay? Joey Logano wrecks out of the race. Noah Gragson automatically advances to the next round because he finishes higher than him.
Yeah.
So then it's like, I don't know. I think it just opens up so many possibilities.
I think it would be
racing.
cool. And I will say, a lot of people are pissed about the gimmicks now. Why not add another one? Why not try this out? Because I guarantee you the racing would be better. The storylines, I agree 100% would be better. And that's what NASCAR wants, is to have the storylines. There you go. You got them. I think it might bring more. I think that would be a good idea to bring more attention to NASCAR overall.
And here's my thing. At this point, what do they have to lose?
Exactly.
The ratings are already down. So if you add a little bit more of a competitive edge to it during the regular season, obviously everybody wants to win. But if you're just randomly, hey, I have to beat this guy this week. Yeah.
It's just a matter of I have to finish better. And we've seen times where, like you said, the underdogs have finished better than the big name drivers. Like,
well, for example, was it maybe it was last year at Daytona or something, one of the super speedways, where it was like Cody Ware and all these, because everybody else wrecked out. So they were all that was left.
Yep. I was thinking like Toddy G.
Yeah.
Has finished better than some of the other big name drivers. If he was racing against one of them, boom, he moves on. I think it would be great racing. I think the storylines would be better. And like I said, I think that would be a great step in a new direction for NASCAR. I will say that.
And I don't know. I just think that there's opportunities that you have to take advantage of, or at least attempt to take advantage of. If it doesn't, you try it out 1 year. If it doesn't work, boom, idea's gone.
At least you could say we tried.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the thought I have too. Like I was telling people at work, I hate people that are so stuck in their ways that they're not willing to try new things. It's like, look at what you're potentially missing out on. Your opportunity cost is a huge thing. Like, opportunity cost to me is huge. Like, I always look at, what am I missing? What could I miss out on if I don't do this? If I don't do that? I agree. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You could say you tried it.
Yeah.
You have nothing to lose.
Literally.
Might as well try it now while nobody's watching.
A notebook of ideas. This one didn't work. Next one. This one didn't work. Next one. Or, this kind of worked. How can we make it better?
Yeah. And Denny said, he said something along the lines of, as drivers, this would be more wildly competitive. He's got a foot. I mean, he's with other drivers. I'm sure he's had these conversations. So it's like, I wonder how many other drivers are thinking, yeah, we need to change something, or yeah, I'm down to try something new.
I mean, it's just something fun to do in the middle of the season.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But not to switch gears. Have you seen any of the memes with Larry Mack because they shut his mic, the audio issue?
I saw the TikToks, and yeah, I did. I think they're funny.
I just wanted to make a note of that.
Yeah. But. Anyway, moving on. Following last week's race at Martinsville, Austin Dillon's car was taken to the R&D Center, where NASCAR discovered illegal underwing mounting and assembly hardware. Dylan was docked 60 points, 5 playoff points. His crew chief was fined $75,000 and suspended for 2 races. RCR has announced that they will be appealing these penalties. So
I don't have any input on those.
No comment.
It is what it is.
Yep.
It is what it is.
Exactly.
The SRX series has announced their broadcast lineup. Alan Bestwick will provide play-by-play. Matt Yoakum will serve as their lead pit reporter. Joey Logano, Darrell Waltrip, and Connor Daly will serve as driver analysts.
And those races are going to be televised on ESPN.
I'm excited.
I am too.
I want to see what Connor Daly does as a driver analyst. Because you really don't hear a whole lot from Connor Daly. He just races, and that's kind of it.
I think it's going to be interesting to hear from like 2 guys that have been in NASCAR and 1 guy that has ran NASCAR but is more familiar, in my opinion, with IndyCar.
But, I mean, you also have guys that run SRX that are more familiar with the IndyCar side of things.
Yeah,
So
for sure. I think the driver pool is very, what's the word? Anyway, yeah, a big...
diverse.
Yes, thank you. That's the word I was looking for.
I mean, I like Joey in the booth,
Yeah, he's really good.
and I love Connor's personality. So I think he'll work. I think it'll work for sure.
I agree. Moving on to the Cars Tour at Hickory. The Cars Tour saw 29 cars take the green flag for their 100-lap feature at Hickory, where Carson Quapple scored the win for Junior Motorsports. Connor Hall, Caden Honeycutt, Chad McCumbee, and
Deke McCaskill.
thank you, rounded out the top 5. The LMSC Tour had to narrow down a 41-car entry list down to 32, utilizing a last chance qualifier. Mike Hopkins grabbed the win, followed by Brent Cruz, Connor Zilzik,
Zillish.
oh gosh, Matt Craig, and Dawson Sutton. Goodness gracious.
So can we talk about the video I sent you and AJ
Which one?
from this race?
I don't think I watched it. Hold on.
Yes, you did.
Did I?
Because I texted you guys and said, watch that Snapchat I sent you. It was the car hitting the pit pit wall.
Yes. Yeah.
So
that was scary.
I forget who it was. It was a female. She's really good. She's sponsored by Yahoo. But she was fighting for the lead, and I don't know what happened. Just came off the corner, and I don't know if her and the other guy made contact or what, but her car just went left, and it was heading straight for the pit road wall, right? Well, it was just those big concrete section barriers, and there was a photographer sitting there, and I mean, the car's coming right at the photographer, and they try to jump out of the way at the last second, but the car hits the wall so hard, it pushes the barrier, and I mean, launches the barrier at the photographer, and literally takes the photographer's legs out from underneath him, and they hit the ground in front of it. And I thought they died because I didn't.
Yeah.
I honestly thought they smacked their head on the ground.
Yeah.
Like, I thought it was face plant into the ground. I'm like, they're dead.
Yeah. It was scary.
Because that was a hard hit, and it all happened so fast.
Yeah.
So,
Thankfully, they're all right.
the driver was okay. The photographer was said to be okay, but they did take the photographer to an off-site location to be further evaluated. So, I do believe everything is okay there. It could have been way worse. Thankfully, it wasn't.
Yeah, that's scary. I do remember seeing that now. I gasped. I was like, that's crazy.
Yeah, because I was sitting there watching it with Shalina's brother, and I was like, oh, my God.
You watched it live.
Yeah.
Damn.
I watched it, and I was like, oh, my God. And Shalina was in the bedroom, and I was like, she's like, what? I was like, someone might have just died.
Yeah.
And Dylan didn't even see it whenever it first happened. He was talking about the car, and I rewinded it. I said, watch right here.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it just happened so fast. I actually have the video.
Well, I was going to say when Ryan Newman had his wreck, Hunter and Bailey were in the living room. Yeah. It's scary. When Ryan Newman had his wreck at Daytona, Hunter and Bailey were oblivious to it. And I was like freaking out. I started crying, and they're like, what? I was like, I think he's dead. And I had to rewind it and show them, and they were like, oh. But yeah, that's scary. I'm glad. Hopefully they're all okay, and I hope they are, and I'm glad they are. But
I would have just laid there. I wouldn't have even bothered to get up at that point. I would have been like, ouch.
I would hope I'd pass out so I don't remember it.
Gosh. It was nasty.
Yeah. High Limit Racing will be competing tonight at 34 Raceway. Hot laps are scheduled for 6 p.m. Heat races are scheduled to begin at 7:05. And the A feature is scheduled to take the green flag at 9 p.m. You can catch all the action on Flow Racing, but by the time you hear this, it's already passed. I don't know why we do that. You know what I'm thinking about? I'm like, well, by the time we
Well, it's already passed. It is 8 o'clock.
Yeah. So, anyway. The last topic I wanted to talk about, I was very hesitant to talk about. I didn't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole, to be honest with you. but I snapped you and I was like, I want to talk about this, but I'm not 100% sure. And you're like, might as well. So we're going to talk about it. But we're going to get a lot. So the reason why I didn't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole was because I don't want to face any backlash. Not that anybody listens, which maybe sometimes is a good thing because we talk about a lot of stuff that could probably get us in trouble. But I've seen on Twitter that a lot of people were very defensive about this and was basically shooting down any criticism. So
I don't think we'll get in trouble. And this is because, so we're going to talk about Cletus McFarland's event, the Danger Ranger thing that they had on Bristol Dirt, right?
Yeah.
I believe Cletus, I could be wrong, I may have just dreamt this, but I feel like I read somewhere, Cletus said, needless to say, this will be the last Danger Ranger event on
That
dirt.
did happen. He said we hosted the first and last Danger Ranger on dirt.
So I think he's aware,
Yes.
but I mean, it's not much different than what happened last year in the Crown Vics. I mean,
And-
Haley Deegan almost got seriously hurt because they don't put full cages in these cars.
Yes. I want to make that point. I want to read some of this stuff too. So I'll give you the background on the event. It was held on Saturday. They had 30 Rangers racing for 50 laps. At the end of the day, there were 8 trucks that flipped. Oop. 8 trucks that flipped. Now, that's going to happen. That's racing. Okay. So I saw somebody that we are friends with on the Facebook. We've actually talked to him on this show, but I won't say who. Made a comment about it, made a post about it, and said that Cletus is going to get somebody hurt, and he's surprised that nobody's been hurt yet. Okay? Allegedly, there was somebody who responded in the comments. Allegedly, this person went to the Freedom Factory with a NASCAR driver. Again, I will not say who on air. Okay? They said that they went down to the Freedom Factory with this NASCAR driver and, in quotes, and I quote, spent half the day remounting bolts, securing the nitrous bottle, and bolting everything. He then said, at the beginning of that comment, he said, dude, they are so bad. And then said in another comment, another response, that there's a reason we haven't participated in the past year and a half. Not going to get into all the details, but just didn't want to push the luck after 2 incident-free events. Okay? Somebody else in that comment thread claimed that they had put all new cages in the Vics last race and put full cages in the Rangers that him and his guys brought. Everybody else brought their own Rangers. They believed that they had, in quotes, much more serious safety rules than before. I want to counter that point because these cages in these trucks looked pretty bare. Now, if that's true that these drivers brought their own trucks and they had different cages in the trucks than Cletus and his guys, I think that's a problem. You need to have all the same caging specs in all the cars. Regardless, the point that I wanted to make, because you brought up the Crown Vic race where Deegan's seat was literally like ripped out of the cage and was moved, okay? My thought on that is Cletus made a YouTube video saying that they were lucky and they're taking safety seriously and they're not quite sure how to make changes, and that, if they find a way to make changes, they would, so on and so forth. I think it's ridiculous to make a video following an event like that and say, we take safety seriously, we're going to make changes, all this stuff. And it doesn't seem like anything changed, in my opinion. And they got very lucky Saturday because, the other flips did not look that bad. Those cages obviously held up. But the wreck that I'm referring to was, a truck came back up the track.
The first lap?
Yeah, on the first lap, a truck came back up on the track, and another truck basically jumped it. So then that truck was like crushed pretty bad. And it's just like, just as much as the next gens, I would not step foot in one of these trucks. Our cages are better than that. And it's like, when they took the Crown Vics to Bristol, I was excited. I thought that was cool. And then I saw the cages. I was like, no, that's dumb. Because they're nothing.
I'd put about 12 more bars in this roll cage to consider.
There's nothing close to what our cages are, which is, like how they had, the compacts there and their cages were better. It's like, this is what their cages look like. I'm going to draw a picture. You won't be able to see it. But like from what I saw, it's like they had a bar here. They had a hoop. And then they had like, I think he said they had like 4 bars in the door, whatever. And then like the passenger side bars, it was just a basic. So, I mean, that's all it was. But I'm like, they didn't look all that safe to me. And then you have somebody who allegedly went down to Freedom Factory with a NASCAR driver, a pretty big name NASCAR driver, by the way, and said, we spent all day remounting shit because we didn't like how it was done the first time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that this is the first and last. I mean, I shouldn't say that because I think the idea is awesome, but like you have got to put time and effort into the safety, and I just
especially
don't think
if we're going to keep getting some of these names to go.
Yeah,
because, after so many times, NASCAR teams and so on and so forth aren't going to let their drivers go because of instances like this.
And that's why I don't think we'll ever see Deegan go back to one of these events, which is unfortunate because, again, I like the idea of them, but, like, I would never sign off on my driver doing this. It's just crazy. And, like,
this is one of those things where if a driver got hurt doing, you have full right to be mad that they got hurt doing something.
Sure.
That wasn't their job.
I just think it's crazy how, big these events are because these are big events, and I'm glad that they are big for Cletus, but, like, it's reckless to not, especially, like, after you say, like, well, if we can find ways to make change, we obviously will. We take safety seriously, and it's just like you throw in a cage that you can order offline. It's just like, is that enough?
Here's my thing. They drag race, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know. I'm pretty sure that in drag cars, roll cages are a little less than what we have, right? Kind of like what they had set up in the Crown Vics and the Rangers. I don't think it's full-on cages like us. I think it's literally, it mainly just encompasses the driver, and that's the main thing.
When you say, I'm going to have to respectfully disagree.
I don't know.
Depending on
I've
what,
never really paid much attention.
I mean, even Street Outlaws have better cages than what they had in those Crown Vics. And I think that's more what Cletus does. Now, if that's the roll cage he runs in his car, more power to you. I wouldn't. But I don't. I disagree. I think that the cage that he has in his drag car, I haven't seen it. Probably should have looked it up because he has videos of his drag car. I'm sure are probably a little bit more beefier than what he had in the Crown Vics and the Rangers.
Right.
But if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I think that this could be a good thing for him, and they've definitely gotten lucky, but I just think you got to put more emphasis on safety and I don't know, because I don't know. I'm not too familiar with it, but I wouldn't do it. I will say though, again, I just want to reiterate that I'm not hating on Cletus, and I'm not trying to like sound like one of those people that are like criticizing, but I am, because it's like you make a video after Deegan's wreck and you talk about safety and all this other stuff, and then I mean you guys got lucky Saturday, and I know you know that. So I think what you're doing is great, but
I also want to make a point. Not that this really changes anything, but I think there's a difference between the cages in the cars or trucks that they supply versus what other people show up with.
And if that's true, that's not fair.
That is not fair.
And that shouldn't be a thing.
Meaning, it goes the same thing goes in our racing. People show up with cars that have cages in that. I'm like, no way.
Yeah.
Your Focus, for example.
Yeah. But I think the cage is great in that car, actually. I think it was well built. It just wasn't well built for me.
But you know what I mean? Like, there's been cars that show up.
And I was stupid for racing that.
There's been cars that show up at Mount Lawn, and they're like, there's no way.
But that's where the rules come in. And it's like, if track officials think that cage isn't safe, they're not going to let them hit the track.
See, this is all that it is.
In the trucks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, they had the halo stuff around the top, obviously to keep the top from coming in, but still, it's just like, it's bare bones, and I wouldn't want to race it.
Yeah, because I have a bar there, a wedge bar there,
and I left a comment on that video last year following Haley's wreck at Bristol. Those were hard hits. Those cars were not built for Bristol. I think you can absolutely build them to be like Bristol, but that's a lot of money, and maybe they're not wanting to spend all that money.
That's no different than us running them at Winchester.
Right. And I mentioned that too. I was like, we're starting to run Crown. I was like, I co-own a team. We race Crown Vics. We race them at Winchester, which is a very similar track to Bristol in a lot of ways. And our cars are built for it. Those cars were not built to run at Bristol. Now,
It also doesn't help that you have people out there that don't race.
yeah,
So like,
because a lot of these events are like, YouTubers and stuff like that.
Like Roman Atwood. I'm not.
Yeah.
I love Roman. Not crapping on him in any way whatsoever. But
Right.
does he have a background in racing?
Yeah.
Not saying he didn't. He's not good because whenever they ran the Crown Vics at Bristol, he did well.
Yeah.
But you get a bunch of people out there that we're just doing this for content.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Cletus's event. We're doing it for content. It'll help us out. Chaos is going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like a lot of people, I guarantee a lot of those guys didn't have experience on dirt,
No.
which handles a lot different than asphalt.
Well, I mean, who was it that went down on the dirtles and caused the wreck?
Right.
I mean, they were jumping. It looked like the Crown Vic at Mount Lion that jumped the scoring rock.
Yeah. So yeah, I think what Cletus has done is great. I think it's a great thing for his business, and I support it, but not the way it is. I think you got to really focus on safety, and
I think
I don't
especially
know.
with everything else that's gone on so far just this year
yeah.
in racing.
I mean, that brings up a counterpoint. We've seen some of the safest cars fail and drivers get hurt or killed, and it happens. It's racing, but like throwing bare bone cages is not going to help your cause. And I just want to say, like, no hate, I guess, although that's what I'm doing, but it's like you're lucky that nobody's gotten hurt yet. Seriously hurt or killed.
I mean, I'll leave it at that.
Because it's like, could you get sued? I don't know, maybe.
They probably all sign waivers.
Yeah, but still.
But, like, I don't know.
It still ain't a good
sucks
look.
because I'm like, this is such a cool thing. Like, it has a lot of potential. He's shown that it has a lot of
And
potential.
I've said previously, before I focused on the safety of it, I would love to be a part of it. I still would, but I ain't going to let them touch the car. It'll be a car that I bring that I feel safe. But yeah, I would want to be a part of it, but not the way it is.
Right.
But
No, I agree. I 100% agree.
But anyway, that's all I have for today.
That's all I have, too. I think it was a pretty good episode. I really think
too.
we got in. We didn't go off on too many tangents. I think
Yeah.
we stayed on what we wanted to talk about fairly well.
I will say, if you are listening in the future and you don't like what we had to say and you disagree, let us know. But don't be assholes about it because, hey, I have my opinions and you have yours.
It's our podcast. We can do what we want.
Exactly. And if you don't like it, start a podcast and, make your counterpoints. No, but seriously, like, I know a lot of these topics I get scared about talking because I'm like, I don't want somebody to get mad at me and be like, you're an asshole or you're an idiot. But it's also like,
Bad
these are my
publicity
opinions.
is publicity.
I suppose. I mean, I probably wouldn't chop this one up and put it on TikTok.
No, but I don't know. It'd probably get some feedback. I guarantee it.
Negative.
It would spark conversations that I think now the right people wouldn't see it. I guarantee it. But it would spark conversations, and I think that's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I agree.
It may not start off on a good foot, but it would spark conversations.
I think that's what I care more about. Is just like, let's talk about it. Why do you disagree? But don't be an asshole about it.
You know why I disagree? Because trust me, I'm an engineer.
Exactly, and I'm not.
Not
So.
really. I don't live by that. But anyway, that's all I have. Good episode. It felt good to be in here today.
Yeah.
Just kind of jabber on about some stuff. But our racing season is speeding up on us very quickly. It's going to be here before you know it. So hopefully we'll bring you with us to the track several times throughout the season and hopefully provide some good content for you. But yeah, anyway, that's all I have to say tonight. And thank you for listening. And we